We get all kinds of packing paper here. I hate throwing it all out. And then I got thinking, I'm going to try making my own homemade paper and turn this pretty again. So today I'm going to show you how I'm going to do that. This is a really easy DIY. You don't need any special tools, anything, any jigs to do it. I've kind of rigged up stuff that you probably already have in your own home to make your own paper. And you can use any kind of paper. If you've got bills that you've got in the mail, you can shred those up. If you've got scrap pieces of scrapbooking paper that you don't know what to do with, you can make that into new paper. Any kind of paper, throw it all together and try this technique. The first thing that we want to do with this is I want to cut it into little pieces about this big. So I'm going to roll it up and start cutting it. I've got a bunch of paper just cut up into little pieces. It doesn't have to be uniform. Just you want small pieces that's going to blend up properly. I want to add a little bit of a contrasting color. I had this little piece of scrapbooking paper. So I'm just going to cut it up into little squares and add it into this. Okay, we're all ready. Now, other tutorials that I saw, they were using blenders, the full-size blenders. I don't have one, so I was trying to think, what can I use instead of a blender? And I have a smoothie maker, and I think it's gonna work perfect. So this is what we're gonna use instead of the blender. And we're going to just put in just maybe quarter ways up, fill it with the little bits of paper. We'll save the rest for another batch. You don't want to put too much in because you don't want to clog up this, so it burns it out. So you want to then put in water until all of your paper is completely covered, and then a couple inches more, and we're going to let it sit for 5 or 10 minutes. We have been about 5 minutes. I'm going to blend it up now. The first time that I made paper, I was trying to figure out how I was going to strain off the paper. I didn't have any frames with screen. I didn't want to go out and buy anything. I just wanted to see if I had something in my own house that I could use. I remembered I had this for grease splatters. I picked it up at the dollar store and it worked perfect. So I've got this and I've got a dish to catch the drips in, and we're going to pour our paper, watered down paper, onto this screen. And you just want to pour it right onto the screen, kind of making it in the shape of a paper. You can use your fingers after. And let all the water just drain through. We're going to leave this for a few minutes. As the water's dripping through, I had this little pastry scraper, and I just am using it just to form a rectangle or a square, whatever shape you want your little paper to be. And as it drains, you can form it even easier. And that's looking pretty good. We're going to let it sit again for a few more minutes. It's been about 5 minutes dripping through, and now I've got a sponge, and I'm just going to take the sponge and just squeeze into that paper and get some more water out of it. And if it pulls up a little bit, you can just get your scraper and reshape it. You want to be really gentle though. And as you get more water out of it, you can press down firmer and the water will squeeze right into the dish below. We have all kinds of the water squeezed out of it, and you can see a little bit of that fleck of that brown scrapbooking paper. You can see how by using all different colors, you can get some really fantastic looking papers. We're going to transfer this now over to a piece of t-shirt rag. This is just an old t-shirt rag that I had. I'm going to just take your screen, flip it over, give it a tap, and the paper will go right on to that t-shirt. You might have to help it a little bit with your fingers. There we go. Kind of ripped in the one little corner. And I'm not a professional at this. I'm still just learning and having fun. That's what this is all about. We're going to fold that over, press some more water out of it. You'll be surprised how much water is actually in this. Pull that off. And we're going to set this aside now and let it dry overnight. We're going to make another piece now. I've got some left over, but I want to add a different color into this one. Got this pretty scrapbooking paper with some blues and pinks in it. We're going to cut them into the little squares and add into this, and make sure we'll put a little bit of more water in it also. If you have some screen, if you have something that you can jig up to make this, and that's fantastic. I was just trying to find stuff around my house that I could make it without having to buy anything new. The next batch is all ready. We're going to pour it on. And you can make this as big as you want or as little as you want. It's all about just having fun. Now this one, I didn't mix quite as much, so I have a little bit bigger chunks of paper in it. So you have a little bit more chunks of color also. I'm going to add a bit more. I think I'm going to make this piece a little bit bigger. We're going to form it a little bit with the scraper. And then we're going to let all the water drip out. Make sure that I've got the paper all a uniform depth. I'm just taking the scraper and just kind of patting it down all the way across, and it kind of flattens it out a lot better. You can also go the other way. Once we use the sponge, it will smooth out all of these lines. And you kind of just have to get the feel of how thick you want it for your paper. You can do any thickness, or you just don't want to make it too thin because it'll tear really easy. There, we're just going to let that sit and drain a little bit more. It's draining really well. We're going to get the sponge. First time, just do it really lightly. Press some of that water out and let the sponge soak some of that water up. Just be really careful. We don't want to tear the paper. And each time you go around, you can press a little bit further. Now I'm pressing down quite hard to get a lot of that water out. And we're ready to transfer it onto that piece of old t-shirt. Perfect. We've got it flipped over on that little piece of t-shirt. We're going to flip it over, press it out even more, and then set it aside and let it dry. I've got another batch ready. This is just some of that packing paper and some of that brown scrapbooking paper. I want to make it look a little bit more like an antique paper. I'm going to use some of my gel food coloring. You can tint your paper. I'm just going to use a little dab. Don't need very much. Just mix it in, and you can see how the water is changing color already, and it's going to tint that paper. And then blend it up and do it just the way that you did the other types. For this one, I added a floral napkin, and look at the colors in this one. So many possibilities. I think I'm going to be making paper all night. After I put the piece of paper on the t-shirt and got all the water out, I set it aside for about a half an hour, and now I've put it on a towel, and I've got a rolling pin, and I like just to take the rolling pin and just roll it right along that paper. It just gets out that, you can see how much water is still in that. Just gets rid of that extra little bit of water. Now these are ready to sit until tomorrow. It's the next day and all my paper is dry and they all turned out so fantastic. I love mixing up different colored paper and it gives it all kinds of different textures, some food coloring. This would be great for Easter or for St. Patrick's Day. The only one that didn't really turn out was this one. I think it kind of looks like a piece of bologna, but I'll use it for something. I have this tag cutter that I've had for ages. Works perfect. I am going to cut a lot of my homemade paper into little gift tags. The first thing that I want to do though is I want to press it and make it a little bit flat. So I've just got a pad. I'm going to use some parchment paper and I'm going to use my Cricut press, heat press. You can use a regular iron to do that. And I'm just going to press all of the paper so it's just nice and flat. That worked perfect. And I just punched out a tag, turned out perfect. I love the texture in this homemade paper. And this is so fun when you can just make this out of packing paper that was going to get thrown in the garbage. I'm going to cut a bunch more of these into tags. All cut out into tags. I'm going to just kind of take the scissors and just clean them up a little bit. I love the way that they turned out. I'm going to hang a little bit of jute twine from the top of these. They'll make fantastic little gift tags. And with the paper that I had left over after I cut them out, I'm going to set this aside. You can use this for any of your crafting projects, some altered art, or you can just blend it back up again and make more paper. I got my 3-hole punch and I just punched a hole in the middle to put the jute through. I just pushed it in that middle. Works perfect. If you appreciate a good DIY project, you need to subscribe to Skillshare. If you've ever had any questions or just want to learn more about crafting, then Skillshare is the place for you. Skillshare is an online video-based platform where you can learn anything from photography to calligraphy. And the difference between Skillshare and YouTube and why I like it so much is it focuses on interaction, much like being in the real-life classroom. The instructor lays out all the steps and information in a way that's easy to comprehend. It's also ad-free. You can stay in the zone while exploring new skills. With new classes being launched every week, there's always something to discover. I just finished taking May Babcock's paper-making class for beginners. It was so amazing. A lot of the techniques I used in this paper-making video, I learned in May's class. For less than $10 a month, you can learn a new skill. And if you click in the link in my description, the first 1,000 people will get to try Skillshare for 1 month free. So try it out and let me know what you think. I've got these all made into tags. They turned out adorable. Even my bologna one, which actually when I put the twine on it, it's not too bad. I stamped some of them. You can stamp them, you can handwrite on them. They're also fantastic if you're an Etsy seller. You can put these on your item that you've sold on Etsy and tuck it in your package. Try it out. It's so much fun, so many different combinations of colors that you can do and just play around with it. And you don't need anything fancy to make it. And that's what I like about it. So let me know down in the comments if you've ever made any homemade paper and how you made out. Thanks for watching. Have a great day, and we'll see you in the next video.